Nas was born Nasir bin Olu Dara Jones on September 14, 1973. His debut album, Illmatic, was released on April 19, 1994 by Columbia Records. The album's production was handled by DJ Premier, Large Professor, Pete Rock, Q-Tip, LES, and Nas himself. Illmatic has been recognized by writers and music critics as a landmark album in East Coast hip-hop. Its influence on hip-hop artists has been attributed to the album's production and Nas's lyricism. The album is widely regarded as one of the greatest and most influential hip-hop albums of the time. Billboard magazine wrote in 2015 that Illmatic is widely seen as the best hip-hop album ever. Today we bring you 10 things you didn't know about Nas's Illmatic. Welcome to the Life Television, where we bring you exclusive videos on movies, music, and history. Please like and subscribe for more. Number 10. Russell Simmons passed on signing Nas. Hip-hop history is filled with missed opportunities and almost moments. Turns out the same is true for Nas. He wanted to sign with Def Jam in the early 90s, but Russell Simmons passed on him because he feared the album would be a commercial flop. Nas later recounted the entire situation on the song Surviving the Times, where he said he was compared to Kool G Rap, rapping the lyrics. Russell said, "I sounded like G, he fronted." Number 9. Nas did New York State of Mind in one take. According to Nas, out of the recording sessions for Illmatic, the most memorable of all of them were when he worked with DJ Premier, who produced 3 songs on the album. Premier was the type of producer that wanted to make sure the track was right. Nas revealed in the 1994 interview, "That was like my best session with him because he was willing to try all types of sounds." What's crazy about New York State of Mind is how many times it took young Nas to get it right. He did that in one take, explained DJ Premier. According to Nas, the original verse was close to 60 bars, which he wrote in the studio that day. Premier says, "If you listen to New York State of Mind, you'll hear him going, 'I don't know how to start this.' I was signaling him going 1, 2, 3, and he just goes in." Number 8. It's short because it was rushed. One of the most distinct features about Illmatic is its length. At a mere 39 minutes and 9 songs, it's the type of album that proves sometimes less is more. However, the track listing was more a result of rush than design. In the years leading up to the album's release, the streets were so thirsty for Nas material that enterprising DJs started putting album cuts on their street mixtapes and playing the songs on college radio. In fact, MC Search once claimed they found a garage filled with 60,000 bootleg Illmatic albums before the album's release. That's why Columbia rushed the Illmatic release in 1994 and dropped their original plan to make it a larger, longer project. Number 7. Nas wanted to sample Juicy Fruit before Biggie. Biggie's Juicy was released in 1994 and built over the sample of Mtume's Juicy Fruit, but it turns out Nas was also a big fan of Juicy Fruit, so much so that, according to Nas, he asked producer LES to bring the record to the studio so he could sample it. But LES did not have that song, so he brought the Gaps band, Yearning for Your Love, and looped that up instead. Once Nas heard the beat, he forgot all about Mtume's hit and opted to rhyme over the Gap band sample. Number 6. Nas begged Large Professor to executive produce the album, but he refused. Nas said, "I wanted Large Professor to executive produce that record, but he told me that I had to do it on my own. I was like, please, executive produce my album." And he said, "Yo, my shit isn't even right." What Large Professor was referring to was the messy breakup between his group, Main Source, that he was going through at the time. Large Professor would go on to say that he wasn't interested in signing Nas, and that he wanted Nas to go on and make his own money. After Large Professor pulled out from being the album's executive producer, Nas teamed up with MC Search, but it wasn't all good. Large Professor was with him, he said Nas, and he had to scream on Search and almost slap him. It's still unknown what the alleged incident was about. Number 5. Busta Rhymes could have had the halftime beat. Nas made his debut solo appearance with the song Halftime, which the rapper recorded in support of the soundtrack to the 1992 romantic thriller Zebrahead. Released as a single with the music video, the mild success of Halftime led to the song being included on the Illmatic track list upon its release nearly 2 years later. Busta Rhymes once told XXL that Large Professor made the beat that would later become Halftime in front of him, but once Busta got the beat, he didn't know what to do with it. He told XXL, "Then I heard it on Halftime and I was like, God damn, I'm stupid for not touching that beat." Number 4. Q-Tip's original idea for One Love was My Summer Vacation. Large Professor says, "One day we were chilling in the rest, and I'm cutting up records, and Nas is like, 'You think Q-Tip would want to work with me?' I'm like, 'Hell yeah, he asked about you the other day.' So we wound it up at Pike's house in the basement, and Tip's like, 'If we work together, we're gonna use this record,' and he plays the record for One Love." Leading up to the album, Nas wrote a record about sending letters to friends in prison and wondered why no one had done it before. When he went to the studio, Q-Tip suggested the idea of doing a song where a kid reads a letter in class about what he did during his summer vacation, but Nas had a different kind of vacation in mind. Number 3. No famous guest appearances. Nas met AZ over the phone rhyming, amongst other MCs. They both bonded and kept in touch. While recording Illmatic, he invited AZ to the session to hear the album. He played AZ the beat and asked him to rap on it. AZ was initially hesitant, but then eventually he did, and it turned out to be a classic. AZ's performance is considered one of the greatest introductory verses of all time. In fact, it was so well received, a bidding war began over who would get to sign AZ. In the end, AZ signed with EMI and dropped his classic debut, Do or Die. However, contrary to belief, AZ wasn't the only artist to co-star alongside Nas on the album. Nas's dad, legendary jazz musician Olu Dara, played the saxophone on the end of the record. They both would work together again in the future. Number 2, one of the first rap albums to get bootleg. Despite being hailed as one of the most anticipated albums in rap history, at the time of its release, Illmatic underperformed commercially in comparison to other debuts of its stature. One factor that played a part in Illmatic's modest sales was songs from the albums being released to the streets prematurely via bootleg recordings. These unauthorized leaks would later become the norm during the later half of the 90s. But Illmatic was among the first album releases to be affected in that manner. Number 1. Here's the real story behind the rip on the album cover. If you look closely at the cover art for Illmatic, you'll notice a slight rip on the actual childhood photo of Nas, which Large Professor recently gave an explanation for. I remember going to his rest and we're chilling, and he's like, yo, this is the flick I'm gonna use for the album cover. He had it under a piece of glass, and I guess when he went to grab it, the glass must have stuck it right there, so that's where the rip came from. From the production to the lyrics, all make Illmatic a classic album. Tell me how you feel about the album in the comments. Thank you for watching the live television. Please like and subscribe for more.